All right, so the idea here is we're just going to build this out, and I want to show you and demonstrate to you the power of Rails. So what we'll do is we will simply make a brand new Rails project. Rails new, wrappers delight. Cool. And just going to build a regular Rails project, MBD. No biggie, right? You guys remember this? Cool. So some things have happened since Rails upgraded versions, and there's like weird stuff with the SQLite gem. So we'll see if it still bothers us. If it does, I'll show you how to fix it. Cool. So we'll go right to Rails delight. And how do we build this out, right? What do we do? Rails G. Today, this is the day. We're going to use scaffold. Ooh. Some of you know what this does, and I'll explain while it's building out. And we'll just use wrapper, right? And what are the attributes of wrapper? Cool. Like wrap name, because it's not really their name, right? No one goes, damn son, Curtis Jackson, what a great artist. No, they say 50 Cent, right? No one's like, yo, Marshall Mathers is fire. They're like Eminem, so rapper name, right? Anything else? City? Hometown? Yo, how about hood, right? That makes more sense. Thank you, Zed. All right. Anything else? Style? What does that mean? Like if they're like a mumble rapper or something? I see what you're saying. But instead, let's just try to get an integer in there. Like number of albums. Like how many whoops, that didn't come out right. Like how many albums they have. Huh? What? Victim? All right. You know what? We're just going to stick with albums. This class is very interesting, but I'm being recorded, so.
What about like a tagline? Rappers have like something they say on it.
Oh, son of a gun. Yeah, that's the SQLite gem. All right, so let's fix that now. So that's painful, all right? So that's not going to open anything. Cool. All right, so with the new Rails version and with Bundler, it will install a newer gem version for SQLite 3. And that's going to be 1.40. Unfortunately, it is not super compatible with currently what's going on. So we're just going to tell it to go to 1.36 or any of the 1.3s, right? Which is ironic because once I bundle, you will see that it actually doesn't do that. Okay, interesting. It does 1.13. Sure. Either way, all right, let's run the scaffold again. All right, more pro tips from your boy. If you run history, it is a command, and it will tell you, oh God, please, let me not have write something embarrassing. Cool. It'll tell you literally everything you've ever written. And if you put the number in, it'll pull that line. Cool, so instead of pressing up 1,000,000 times, you can type history, and it'll tell you like the last commands that you wrote. So you see a lot of RFs up there because I was like grading some of your projects, and then I just delete them after. Because I mean, they're really good, the code challenges, don't get me wrong, but they are taking up space on my laptop, so. All right, okay, that didn't go over well. Sorry. So, cool, let's see the magic of Rails, right? All I have to do is start the server. And what scaffold will do is, it's actually pretty cool. So let's go check it out. Little localhost 3000. All right. Okay, I didn't migrate. That was terrible. Rails DB. Don't you guys miss how good the Rails errors are? Right? Remember the JavaScript errors? Awful. What do you mean type is not type of object? You're like, okay, all right, sure. Cool, yeah, you're on Rails, right? And the first thing I can always check is going to be my wrappers. Right, that's the RESTful route. And look, boom. You want a new wrapper? You want one? Boom, let's make one. Does anyone want to be a rapper in here? Does anyone have a cool rap name? All right, Wangtron, all right? What hood am I from? I don't know. Lashing. Cool. It's like flushing, but you know, you gotta throw a little G on it. All right, how many albums I have? Yo, I am a straight G. SoundCloud, support me, please. I'm not on SoundCloud. I can create a rapper. Boom! Look at this message. All right. right? I can refresh and that message goes away. Look at this. I can edit, all right? Wangtron, money, I can update it. Takes me right back to the show page. Successfully updated. I go back, go right back to my index. I can show, can edit and destroy in one line. Sorry, your Mod 2 projects in your code challenge so hard, but scaffold. Any questions? Do you know why we told you like not to use this? Well, that's not exactly why, but it does in fact build out full CRUD for you. The problem is, let's take a look at the code. It does stuff that right now you don't really understand. And the problem is, if I see something like this, I'm like, hey, what does this do? You will have so many extra lines of code in your own code base that you don't understand, and that's not the right call. Does that make sense? Plus, if we teach you scaffold, you'll probably never wind up using Rails G model or controller, when in fact you probably should. So the idea is here, like, can you build it from scratch, and then more abstractions. This is really good in the fact that when you are interviewing and they're saying, oh, great, you know React, you know vanilla JavaScript, do you want to be a front-end developer? Like, cool, let's interview. What they'll do is they'll give you a database and they'll ask you to do something fun or display these like objects in a interesting way on your front end. That's literally what most code challenges are. It's scary. And do you want to spend a lot of time building your Rails backend? No, because it's a front-end dev interview, and it's very clear it's for a front-end position. This is where scaffold's useful, where you don't really care about the backend, straight scaffold it, connect it to the database, and then pull from the model, and then immediately start doing front-end stuff with it. This is what it's for. It's not for you to build like your startup off scaffold, or like a project off scaffold. Does that make sense? Cool, so this is, I'm just trying to show you, see the practicality of it. And something else I want to show now is that I can do a get to wrappers, which we just did, and then I can do a get to wrappers .json, right? I'm sorry, I miss Jason. He's like an instructor, and he's very Italian, and so his name is Jezon. All right, I can do a get to wrappers .json, and I can see JSON data. Wow. 5 stars. This is what's happening. Let's take a look. I can go right into my console, and I can check what is wrappers.first. Okay, just kidding. What the? Oh, just kidding, it's wrapper, you're right. Usually Rails says, did you mean wrapper? Rails let me down, right? Wrapper.first. I can take this data, and I can to JSON it. And it will give me my data back in JSON. So it's doing that method on it, and then it's just rendering it instead of HTML. So here, what HTML do you think is on here? Like, where is this data? It's breaking this whole thing down, right? Look at this, class E, B. This is disgusting, right? If you do not have this Chrome extension, it's called JSON Viewer, right? I think so. Let me take a look. Yeah, JSON Formatter. Just kidding. It's a Chrome extension. If you don't have it, it will come back like this. If you have the Chrome extension, you could just hit parsed, and it will come 5-star experience. So much better, especially when you have lots of data, right? Like you can do reddit.com, check out this user sandbox.json. It gets hairy. It gets really hairy. If you saw it raw, you'd be like, no way, I can't see any of that. Parse that a little bit, just right. And so now I can see that inside my data, there's children, and then inside that, there's more data that finally gets me the data that I want. Does that make sense? So if you make a fetch request to this, you would know what to do, right? You would be able to make that fetch, that get, right? Parse the JSON, and then now you could do something with the data. Does that make sense so far? So now we're going to connect all of it. Because since we can see that Rails, in fact, can do this, let's see how we can get Rails to do it. The idea here is, do you want your Rails to serve up HTML, or do you just want it to serve you back JSON data? If you have a front end already built, you already have your HTML, you already have your JavaScript tags, do you need Rails' action view library that's going to serve you the view pages? Do you want Rails to give you this? That's not really important, right? I mean, if I'm just getting JSON data, I don't need these ERB HTML files. So there's a way to do that. All right, so far so good? Cool. Before we get there, I'm going to explain how Rails is working under the hood, and that is this. You can tell it how to respond, and that is you're saying respond to, and it's looking for a format. If the user is asking for the HTML, you can respond with a redirect to the show page after you create. This is something you've seen before. However, if they're asking for JSON data, and how do you know they're asking for JSON data? Inside the fetch headers, you say application type JSON somewhere in there. You're telling it, hey, JSON's coming in hot. Also, I'm going to accept JSON. So what do you think you're telling the server to respond with? JSON. So it's going to render, show, and some details in JSON. That's what the console log comes back as inside your fetch when you do the post. The details. Cool? So far, so good? Now let's make it happen. Yeah? Thumbs up? Yes? Check or hold? We're going to make Rails respond with JSON so that we can fetch to our Rails backend and no more this nonsense JSON server -- watch db.json. We're going to fetch to our actual Rails server. Cool? So let's do it. Awesome. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Great. I fooled myself. Does anyone want to build a different app, or do you want to build wrappers again? What does no mean? All right, just want to use wrappers again? Cool, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely blast wrappers delight, and I'm going to make wrappers delight again, but not with scaffold. Is that cool? So rm, recursively remove, this is very dangerous. Wrappers delight, boom, gone. Wow, powerful. This should not even be here. Look, don't save. Cool. Then I'm just going to do Rails new, right? An app called wrappers delight. Let's just put lowercase. And then in order to abandon all the extra bloat of Rails that we don't need for some of the front end stuff, we can tell it specifically, right, to do API only. I only want this API from my Rails app. Cool. You can also specify other flags, like you could tell it for your database you want PostgreSQL database, like dash PostgreSQL -db, something like that. I forget the flag, but either way, you can Google the flag. Cool. So the Rails new will take multiple flags. All right. So we'll just make it. Boop. Noise. Take a look at that wrappers delight app again. And I should probably fix that SQL gem before it bites me in the butt. Boop. 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 Did some of you do that already? Got 'em. All right, so, oh, there it is. See that? This is what I was looking for before. All right. So let's take a look at some of those differences. All right, I actually have it open. The first thing is going to be inside my controllers, I'm inheriting from action controller the namespace of API. If I look closely, you can already see this folder is so much smaller. All right, I think even inside this, you can see after the bundle, it will create everything. And then very specifically, it will actually remove a bunch of stuff. So you're getting rid of a lot of the Rails bloat by making it API exclusive. Cool? Great. So there's a couple of things, right, that you see. So it's inheriting from different things, right? The views folder's still there, but it's really just like the mailer template if you want to use Action Mailer, which you can use Rails to send emails, which is pretty cool. But everything else is like pretty much the same. I mean, you can click through, right? It's a little bit leaner, but that's mostly the details and the differences. Are there any questions so far on this like API version of Rails? Awesome. So let's do this. Let's create some stuff. Great. We need to make a wrapper. So Rails G model. Let's build it from scratch. Cool. We have a wrapper, and they have a wrap name. They have a hood, and they have albums. Yeah, so far so good. Smart. Okay, while that's loading. The idea here that I want to explain while that's running, hopefully it will, because sometimes it'll just freeze for no reason, is let's try GitHub v3 API. Cool. That worked. Good. The idea here is that your API is going to host and hold all of your data, right? Have you ever had a point where you'll need to create a new migration and change the way your database is? Sometimes you want to serve your data up in a different way. Do you want to shut down the way your data used to be served while you're building and standing up your new database? Like, no, I still want all my old stuff to work while I'm building and setting up my new stuff. And then there's a point in time where I will launch version 2, and then I still need version 1 running for like a few months, and then I'm going to tell everyone, hey guys, I'm deprecating version 1, so in 2 months everyone's got to jump to 2, and then 2 months later you're like, hey, I took down 1, go to 2 now, right? And the idea is that you need to be able to version control your APIs. And so how that happens is you see this namespacing. It's github.com/version3. Who remembers doing this in college where you had an essay and you were like essay v1, it's like a draft, and then you were like essay v2, and then you're like, oh, got it, I'm submitting it now, essay v3 final. And then your professor sent it back and was like, that's not good. And you're like, okay, just kidding, final, right? Y'all been there? Cool. Developers do this as well. Only in the sense that we would like to create in our controller this idea of namespacing. Oh, this is not. Come on, dog. Boop. Oh. All right. So sometimes that happens. All right, where are you guys at? NYC 01. I'll just put 01, 07. There we go. That'll work. Boop. That's why I like ZSH. What are you guys, 36? Cool. All right, let's try that command. One mo again. Anyways, Rails is great. It's just sometimes it likes to take its time. Cool. Does everyone know where I want to go next after I create this model? Huh? Well, what I want to create next? Yes. But I'm also I gotta build the controller, right? All right, that's what I'm gonna do. I gotta shut this whole thing down. Shut it down. I have to start my term again. Sorry, guys. Presentations don't always go according to plan. You know what I mean? We teach a lot here. And finally, give me that. I could have used history. That would have been good place use history. Oh, this is painful. If this doesn't work, I have to shut my computer down. Rails will do this to you. Let's see if I can just make the controller. Rails G controller. Cool. And how do I want to create this controller? Just, I mean, we could just make it the controller. We can put like wrappers. But the idea here, in terms of the name spacing that we were talking about, some of you were like kind of alluding to it, figuring it out. We can do API slash version 1 slash wrappers. Come on. You heard that? That was my back. All right. I'm gonna have to shut this down. Let's take a 5-minute bathroom and coffee break. Cool. I'm sorry.